distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Visualize a future where the collective imagination of the public unites forces with the brightest minds in science to co-author an emerging world. Through actively involving multi-generational publics in a communal quest to anticipate the future, we begin to dismantle the polarization that pits global citizens against advancing science, a divide fueled by complexity, sensationalist media, political agendas, economic self-interest, cognitive biases, and increasing mistrust. Today, we propose to turn that script around by empowering the public to speculate on possible futures by tapping into the vast collective intelligence unleashed by generative AI tools in conversation with the GESDA Science Breakthrough Radar. The future, as all of those in the room here today already know, it isn't a narrative that's written by us or even for us. It's a story we must write together. Public engagement with the future is etched in history. Futurism, emerging from the early 20th century, is both an artistic and social movement that sought to break away from the past and embrace modernity, celebrating dynamism, speed, and energy of the modern age. Futurists exalted technology, industrialization, and the machine, seeing them as the driving forces of human progress. To invoke the old adage, to see the future, we must know the past, we should be very mindful here because one of the handmaidens of futurism was, of course, fascism. But advocating for a new aesthetic that mirrored the rapid changes of the times, artistic illustration was vital to futurism because it allowed creators to vividly portray the essence of a rapidly changing world, making abstract ideas tangible and inspiring societal embrace of progress and modernity. The opera in the year 2000 that you see here was created by Albert Robida, the French illustrator and futurologist, in 1902. This particular illustration is one of his most famous works, showcasing his vision of how people might leave the opera, featuring advanced technologies like airborne vehicles. To invoke Oscar Wilde, progress is the realization of these utopias. Rewind to late last night, I reused Robida's illustration in combination with the generative AI tool Runway ML, so this is a one-pass use. This act immediately brings to the foreground several pressing ethical and intellectual property issues. As we integrate historical artworks with contemporary technology, it's crucial to examine the implication of both the original creator's rights and the future of production in creative communities. The broader implications across multiple domains is clearly evident, culminating in deep fakes and the potential of human obsolescence. Generative AI evokes a long-standing tension between utopian hopes and dystopian fears, a key narrative in society's relationship with emerging technologies. On the utopic side, Robida wrote an acclaimed trilogy of futuristic novels. He foretold many inventions, including the telephonoscope of 1883, a flat-screen projected display that delivered the latest news 24 hours a day, live theater, and even teleconferences with his wife. This 1906 cartoon from Punch magazine presents a dystopic scene that could easily be mistaken for modern times, depicting wireless telephones being used over a century ago, showcasing the art of avoiding real communication while in close proximity to a confidant. Both utopian and dystopian visions play a crucial role in speculative futures, reflecting society's hopes and fears. But both these emotions challenge us to think critically about the trajectory of human development, the ethical implications of technological advancement, and the socio-political structures that govern our lives. Understanding these issues are vital for public engagement with science. If we take a spatial temporal leap to 1974, Princeton professor of physics Gerard O'Neill wrote that the key for extraterrestrial inhabitation is to treat the region beyond Earth not as a void, but as a culture medium, rich in matter and energy. Rather than terraforming Mars, O'Neill proposed constructing habitable cylinders that would spin on their axes through space, simulating Earth's gravity and using a system of mirrors and apertures to approximate the days and seasons. For 15 years, illustrations by Don Davis and Rick Guidis guided the speculative space projects for NASA. In summary, futurism left a lasting legacy on both art and thought, and most importantly, influencing subsequent generations' visions of what the future might hold. Throughout history, world fairs have served as the greatest stages where speculative visions of the future are brought to life, captivating the masses like no other events can. In 1962, Buckminster Fuller published plans for what he called a geoscope, a massive geodesic display covered in miniature light bulbs to be controlled by a computer, enabling real-time visualization of global data. A miniature Earth, he said, with the most accurate global representation of our planet ever realized. His icosahedron-based geodesic structure for the Montreal World Exhibition in 1967 remains on site to this day in a newfound form as a biosphere. The Pepsi Pavilion, Expo 1970 in Osaka, was a groundbreaking project that blurred the lines between art, technology, and architecture. It was a bold experiment in multimedia, interactive environments, and interdisciplinary collaboration. Designed by EAT, Experiments in Art and Technology, it remains a significant reference point in the history of modern art and technology, emblematic of a cybernetic paradigm that emerged at the birth of the information age. This installation embodied concepts of architectural objects as communication phenomenon. The concept of an experiential domed environment was pushed to its extremes. Inside the main feature was a 30-meter diameter spherical mirror which inverted and distorted images of visitors and the environment, playing with notions of reality and perception. It was described as a theater of the future. One of its most innovative features was an immersive sound environment that allowed visitors to engage directly with sound devices, transforming them from passive observers into active participants in the creation of a sonic landscape. The environment was designed to be responsive with a sophisticated network of microphones, speakers, and sensors strategically placed throughout the space. It was envisioned as a total instrument to be played by participants, providing them with choice, responsibility, freedom, and of course, participation. Experiments in world exhibitions can be seen as precursors to a transnational digital age. They were intended to create the world anew. And it's this ability to metaphorically inhabit the future that's at the heart of anticipation. If we now step forward in time, we arrive at the threshold of the Osaka 2025 World Expo, so inspiringly introduced by our colleague Alexandra. The Geneva Public Portal to Anticipation is a key installation for the Swiss Pavilion, and this GESDA initiative is to engage global publics with the core knowledge in this science breakthrough radar of 2024. The portal employs the strategies of co-creation, personalization, and generative AI to create future science-based imaginaries. By inviting engagement with this leading scientific knowledge base, global citizens re-engineer a canvas of speculative futures through their own perspectives. Participants use a series of parameters including human, non-human, emotion, sphere of influence to help craft their vision. Ultimately, this experience empowers individuals and groups from diverse cultural backgrounds to anticipate their world to come. The portal builds a bridge between emerging science and society. This is the overall knowledge creation architecture of the portal that we've built. It ingests 65,000 words, including the 5 scientific platforms, 29 topics, 116 subfields. The material is engineered through a large language model, in this case, ChatGPT 4o, and it's the basis for prompt engineering processes, which combines the radar with a series of parameters that participants enter through touchscreens. Across 197 countries, it generates both a narrative story and an image located in the future at 5, 10, or 25-year time horizons. The project involves 3 million pre-computed images powered by the text-to-image generator ideogram. And while I'm not going to go into too much detail here, the parameters participants can choose help craft a personalized narrative. Importantly, who would you like to create this future for contains the option for non-human. The concept of more than human is an important discourse in various fields, including environmental studies, philosophy, anthropology, and design, because it challenges the human-centered worldview that has dominated Western thought for centuries. Many indigenous cultures, for example, have long practiced more than human ways of being, where the relationship with animals, plants, and the environment are integral to cultural identity as well as well-being into the future. Emotions linked to the future necessarily must include negatives such as anger and fear. This is the process on the touch screen, which many of you may have already experienced. Human augmentation, organoids, non-human is selected here, 25 years. Environment is the sphere of influence, the country is Andorra, and the emotion is trust. The narrative here focuses on Kale, a robotic artist, sculpting hybrid organoids aided by an ancient Basque knowledge system. The generated image then joins communities of these visions. A prototype, as mentioned by Henrietta, can be seen in the globe, and I just point out that it uses a small subset of 145,000 images from version 1 of Ideogram, and the whole work will be produced in the next generation of this system. Just to retrace the steps of prompt engineering to arrive at a story, and one that is imbued with Swiss aesthetics. We must also instruct generative AI engine to remove much of the offensive cultural biases exhibited in a work intended to embrace global public. We also use a negative prompt to control the really bad stuff. Everything from malformed limbs to fused fingers, Bitcoin and Ethereum logos, which are prevalent, through to the furry, the fetish, and the fursona representations. And if somehow in all of that it goes wrong, then we get this. This is the ideogram dodgy image cat that signals restricted images. These, of course, do not end up in the 3 million. AI-generated images trained on the past tend to root us in the present. It's not easy to depict a novel future. Therefore, stories are incredibly important corollary to the image, and prompt engineering is a vital tool for crafting better visions. Science-based texts tend to produce images that are dystopic. Early testing with the radar, for example, resulted in a higher percentage of scenarios of dystopia. This underscores the importance of semantics in a generative AI world, converting scientific discourse into publicly accessible narratives. Successive generations of generative AI tools tend towards increasing normalcy or true to the real world aesthetics and narratives, rather than a speculative future. Again, prompt engineering is used to redirect the story and the imagery to be more creative. The Geneva Public Portal to Anticipation will be available to 10,000 people that pass through the Swiss Pavilion every day. It's also built as a scalable platform. And to come full circle, in conversation with the GESDA Science Breakthrough Radar, the portal intends to empower the public to speculate on possible futures by tapping into the vast collective intelligence unleashed by generative AI. This creative simulacrum of futures makes tangible the science of tomorrow. Thank you very much.